So it's 5 wins out of 5 for Solskjaer as coach of Manchester United. It's snowballing, Craig, this campaign that maybe, if it all works out...
What campaign?
...to get Solskjaer as the coach next season.
After 5 games.
Would it be that bad an idea?
At the moment, yes.
But what if it all works out? Say they go on to win the FA Cup, say they finish top 4.
No, I'm sorry, but it's just too big a job and too big a rebuild with against clubs who are way ahead in terms of the squad to get carried away with emotions and get listening to one or two pulling on the heartstrings about how he was a great servant to the club and he's come in and he's picked things up and they've done well. It's going to take a lot more than that to peg back Man City, Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Juventus, all these other teams. It's too big.
Is that not an argument to say they've tried the big coach? They tried Van Gaal, they tried Mourinho, they tried Moyes, it didn't work. So why not go down this route?
Because I think there's better people out there. Particularly south, by about 200 miles.
We'll talk about Pochettino in a minute because he said some interesting things today regarding Spurs and his future. But there is a feeling, isn't there, among some United fans that this could work out, that Solskjaer maybe could be the solution if, obviously, they continue this fine start?
Yeah, I think one of the romantic ones. I think Craig's right. You have to be hard-headed about this and realise that if you make the wrong appointment this time, it's another 2 or 3 years down the line that you've messed it up. So it's a good start. He's settled the ship. He's made people happy again. But still, the reality is United needed a world-class coach who can take them onto the next level to close the gap on Man City and Liverpool.
So let me get this straight. If you're a Manchester United fan, you're rooting hard for Solskjaer, but not so much that he makes such a run that it makes him impossible to get rid of him at the end of the season. I mean, at some point, you got to look at what he has done. And I know that they haven't played anybody. But let's not lose sight of the fact that even not playing against anybody, they were struggling with Jose Mourinho. So I think the team has taken a step forward. And to that point, I would say, all right, yeah, give him till the end of the season. But it seems backwards to think that you're better off rooting against your team because you're looking at the big picture. We don't know that whoever the new manager would be, that he's actually going to do the job that is required for Manchester United. But we do know that from what we have seen so far, and mind you, it is a very small sample, it's been good for Manchester United. And the best players are playing at their best. That hadn't happened in a while at Manchester United.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Absolutely.
United can have a great run,
right,
and they can still replace him as the manager and put up a formidable argument as why they're doing it. Is because it is such a big rebuild. So you can still have Man United, going on this fantastic run and maybe getting in the top 4, and I don't think they'll beat PSG no matter how many smiles are on their faces. But you can still then, as long as Woodward goes out and makes the right appointment, then he can say to the fans, no, this was great, but there's a bigger picture here.
But it becomes difficult to do, though. It becomes a whole lot more difficult to do if the team does all the things that you just talked about, and then all of a sudden you have a group that was nowhere near this good performing at that level. It becomes a whole lot more difficult to sell.
But the remit was for him to come in, steady the ship, get the results back on track, get the players happy again, and he's doing that. So that was the remit until the end of the season, to make United a better job for whoever comes in. I just think it'd be a mistake brought on by the wrong reasons to give him the job on a full-time basis. I mean, he might be Man United's Zinedine Zidane, a guy that's perfect for the club, but he could be United's Roberto Di Matteo, a guy that does a short-term fix and long-term isn't the guy to take you on.
Our opinions, of course, as always, are irrelevant. It's all down to Woodward. Could his head be turned? Do you think he might, as Craig said, kind of go with his heart a little bit?
Absolutely, and that is a worry for everyone at United that happens because, Ed Woodward is a genuine guy, he's a good guy, but he's a guy that likes to be liked. And if he thinks that all the Man United fans will suddenly like him if they give the job to a fan's favourite, then he might think, well, it'll cost quite a lot of money to get Pochettino at Tottenham. That could be spent on a player. The suggestion is it could be £40 million, which is a big chunk of money. So if he can get the popularity of the supporters by giving the job to Solskjaer and keeping Mick Phelan in his role as well, making it's almost like a comfort blanket. Man United, Solskjaer feeling it's like the Fergie days again. But the Fergie days have gone and they've got to get away from that. They're in danger of falling into the trap that Liverpool fell into all those years ago by constantly going back to the boot room and Roy Evans and Souness and this, that and the other. They've got to make a clean break. They have made a clean break, obviously, with Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho, but a clean break from the Ferguson past, in a sense, look forward. They just made the wrong appointments the last 3 times. They've got to make the right appointment, and that, for me, could be Pochettino, could be somebody else, but they've got to get away from this. Oh, well, he played for the club and he's done a good job in the moment.
I mean, don't get me wrong, if there's nobody else out there and he can't get Pochettino away or he can't get X, Y, or
Well,
Z.
that's the problem, isn't it?
Then I understand.
If you take Pochettino out of it,
Right.
you say X, Y, and Z, there isn't really
No, there's not.
a lot of coaches around that could come in.
Correct.
So why not stick with Solskjaer, who's been successful?
Well, it might,
so far?
that might be something they'll have to look at, down the line. There's not a doubt about that. There's a dearth of really good. I mean, there's some good ones out there, but there's some that might not see that fit in the club, like an Antonio Conte or a Diego Simeone, who's well thought of, but a lot of people are a little bit scared about the antics. The other side of the coin is I never think we should relate what's happening at Man United to what happened at Real Madrid under Zidane, because I think it's a million miles apart. Benitez, who's a very good manager, had a way of doing things and the players didn't like it, but it was a heck of a squad of players.
Right.
A heck of a... If you're comparing those two with Man United, that's chalk and cheese. You've got World Cup winners and Champions League winners and all sorts, some of the best players in Europe who were underperforming. What you got here is some very good players and some ones that, let's be honest, United fans think probably should be at the club. They've been underperforming and Solskjaer's got more out of them. But comparing and contrasting with Real Madrid is apples and oranges, because that was a world-class outfit that was underperforming and Zidane then got the best out of them.